Okay. Wow. Dante's here. My standard poodle. What's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of InTheImageClothingCompany. I couldn't even make up how cold it is, so I'm not going to try to tell you because I don't know how cold it is temperature-wise. Like a number to tell you in degrees Fahrenheit, but I can tell you this, it's cold, and Dante and I just walked about 1.5 miles to get over here. Today is March 5th, 2026. This is a video on In The Image Clothing Company's main site, as we do, just another date-marked documentation, if you will, as I say, okay? Allowing the body to work, that's what we do here on our main side of In The Image Clothing Company, but there are 4 sides to In The Image Clothing Company, okay? But yeah, this video's title is The Importance of Bringing Food to the Mouth. Let's talk about it. But let me explain who we are in case you don't know, or even if you do, here's some context. In The Image Clothing Company, we allow the body to work. That's our slogan, allowing the body to work. Here on our main side, there's 4 sides, but clothing, it's the only thing physically placed on us. Okay, clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, where we discuss clothing sits because there's no opinion to it. There's a universal human design. We've got joints of material and joints of body parts that need to mesh. Okay. Being made from 100% natural materials is what we need our clothing to do in all the ways we can have it do that. Because there's only natural. The goal is natural on all 4 sides of In The Image Clothing Company. We can take natural things and make them unnatural, but that's only altering something as it was, and then it always decomposes back to natural after the fact. Okay. So, yeah, natural, neutral, and normal, they're synonyms within the human body's functioning. And the functioning of the dogs as well, over on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, another one of our 4s, where we let dogs stay natural. The same thing as allowing the body to work here on our main side of In The Image Clothing Company. But we give information that applies to all dogs, even though we're titled In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. We specialize in purebred standard poodles, but even pack mules, horses, animals with halters placed on them, things like this. There's things clothing animals nowadays that human beings do, okay? Collars, leashes, harnesses, slip leads, bandanas, similar things like this for dogs are clothing items, if you will, okay? Anything that clothes something else is clothing. God clothes the fields with grass. Anyway, there's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? There's no opinion to it. Don't believe me. Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Any of our team members under In The Image Clothing Company, or even our poodles with our information, because truth is truth. We don't get to decide it or change it as human beings. But God designed the body. In the image of Jesus Christ, we're designed as human beings, and so we're a clothing company. There's our 5-word company name with no spaces between them. In The Image Clothing Company. Because anything that clothes the human being is clothing. You know, snow flurries are coming out of the sky. You know, you can't predict Utah weather. You can't. Not accurately, okay? It is cold out here. Yeah, there's only one way the human body could ever work. The bones are only the shape that they are. They're only the length that they are. They connect directly to each other through ligaments, and they need to mesh in line the only way the bones are shaped. Otherwise, they get damaged. We have this thin layer of cartilage called cushioning, or cushioning that's called cartilage, between the joints of our bones so they don't wear out. But they will wear out if we don't allow the body to work. We will never train the human body to get it to do anything. That is physically impossible. You'd have to reshape your bones. Also, we're just on Earth. There's a vertical pull to Earth's gravity, which is a perpendicular or a right 90-degree angle with its horizontal surface. And our bodies have a center line. Okay, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizing the entire body. All of these things have to stay in the center because Earth's gravity's vertical pull doesn't change. And it's centered. Hey, Dante. Dante really is here. Dante, up? Yeah, good. Good dog. So, yeah, clothing being the only thing physically placed on us, we're doing everything in our lives that we do through our clothing, okay? And so this is the thing. We talk about for both human beings here on In The Image Clothing Company's main side, and for our dogs on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, and then any information that could apply to any animals across the entire planet Earth on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. There you go, right? It applies to a lot of animals as well as just dogs, but letting dogs stay natural is the slogan. We talk about eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, everything we do as a human being. I mention those things because that gives you an idea of, oh yeah, we're just talking about the human body and its functioning. The only reason we're a clothing company is because clothing is on us and nothing else is going to affect our bodies or even able to have the opportunity to, the way that clothing possibly could, damage us. Anyway, it does. We get into chronic patterning, scar tissue builds up, bone spurs build up in the body because things like oversized clothing, imbalances of any kind in clothing, and there are many in modern day, with clothing designs being shipped across the entire planet in ways that never could have happened before we had the technology to do that. We're in universal patternings because of universal clothing designs, to the degree that they are just, universally designed clothing items nowadays, Ropes, shoelaces, and drawstrings, things like this introduced to the body. We can tie one side over the other in a rope and twist the entire body on or around the body in some way, and it happens. Okay, shoelacing discrepancies, tying discrepancies, yeah, anything tied onto the body. This is the same with the dogs too, In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. But this is the big point with eating, and this video's title is, we need to bring food to our mouths. Rather than taking our mouths to the food, we got to bring the food to our mouths. We talk about posture, and it's impossible to train it. Okay, the body has opposing bends. There's no opinion to this stuff, by the way. Oh, I mean, don't believe me. Do you see what I mean? How I'm on both ends of it. I'm nowhere besides where I am. What I'm saying is, don't even think I know what I'm talking about if you don't want to, and see if I know what I'm talking about by trying to get down to the truth. It's apart from all of us. I don't get to decide it or change it. Okay, but the body does. To stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pole, the body of the human being has even opposing mathematical bends. We talk about mechanics, physics, and mathematics often under In The Image Clothing Company because the human body is just mechanics. That's the video's title here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. The human body is just mechanics. Dante was in that video with me. Okay, one of my standard poodles. Currently my only one, but we'll have many poodles going forth under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. And then me personally too, I'll have my own dogs as well, in addition to Dante. This is the point, but some good context as well, okay? The body is opposing bends. The ankles bend backward, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backward, the low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, then the upper back, which is the cervical spine, really is just the neck. It bends forward. Yikes. Chainsaw sound. Snow flurries, cold weather. We walked over here. There's a chainsaw sound going on now, okay? Wow, we just do it as we do. Like I say, blunt, bold, raw, and real. In The Image Clothing Company is just what it is. Just like the body. There's only one way it works, and it's neutral positions. We stand vertically on Earth and are neutral from either leaning left or leaning right. There's a neutral between that. Leaning forward or leaning back. There's a neutral between that. The wrist coming up or coming down. There's a neutral between that. The elbow at the natural waist is the shoulder at its neutral height. Okay. There's only a neutral. There's only one way the human body could ever work. There's no possible opinion. The bones are only the shape that they are, okay? Muscles pull, and only directly in line. The human body only pulls. There's a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, and it does. Even in what seems like a push, we are only pulling muscles on the back side of a hinge joint to extend a hinge, okay? We pull to close a hinge or we pull to extend a hinge. There are opposing muscles. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's been the exact same since always. Really, God had to first look like us to be able to design us in his image. And God is unchanging, also called the truth. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Okay. Good boy, Dante. He's just sitting here looking up at me, so patient. Okay. Dante, I love you, Doug. We are eating, okay, and eating is just a mechanical operation. There's a lot of videos here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side talking about the jaw. We just put a lot of focus under In The Image Clothing Company on the human being's jaw. I'm gonna cough. Okay, the jaw stabilizes the entire body. The jaw is eating, breathing, speaking, and stabilization of the entire body. And the roles that it plays, the jaw is the shoulder, connected directly through ligaments and not ligaments necessarily, tendons and muscles though. Watch this. Watch my jaw and my collar of my top. Okay. As the jaw moves, the musculature that connects it to the corner of the shoulder. The corner of the shoulder? Wow. This video is awesome. I mean it. Because yeah, the jaw connects straight to the shoulder. That's going through the collars of our tops. Keeping collars centered. And the importance of even collars, well, sure, but keeping, man, this is awesome. I'm serious. I'm not sarcastically saying it's awesome. This is really great because it's just as real as it is, you know. Keeping collars centered, a huge focus under In The Image Clothing Company, okay, just in daily life as well. Just like keeping elbows at the natural waist, a huge focus under In The Image Clothing Company, but also just in daily life for any human being to ever live. If you've got elbows, okay? Seriously, maybe you don't. You got a deformity, let's say, amputation, major surgery, birth defect, anything like this that sets your body apart a little bit or quite a bit, makes you different. You're only different from the universal human design. We have to do all we can to get as close as we can to the universal human design in our own individualistic situations because we have to breathe. We stabilize through the entire body when we breathe. And we're still on Earth's gravity. There's still two sides to the body to the degree that there is, okay? So, here's the point with the jaw. The jaw is huge, man. We've got a lot of videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, like I was saying, talking about the jaw. The shoulder is the jaw. A video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here, followed by these. Here are some other ones, okay? Videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company discussing the human being's jaw. The importance of eating and drinking with the left hand, really just meaning the non-dominant hand in this right-handed world, because yes, 85% give or take of human beings are right-handed. We get into a right-handed patterning with the center line to our bodies, with us only using one side of our bodies almost always, the vast majority of the time over the other side of our bodies, we get imbalanced. Earth has a vertical gravity pull, our bodies have a center line. Two sides to them, using only one side is an imbalance, mechanically, okay? So, the importance of even jaw musculature, the importance of the corners of the mouth, being gentle with the mouth, the importance of even ears, because the ears are the jaw. We'll get into it if we do in this video, but there you go, there's some context. Meaning, just about, they're directly touching the jaw and they affect the jaw directly, the ears. So here you go. The importance of not pushing or pulling on the ears, okay? And then whatever else we could say like this. The importance of a strong jaw. A video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. There's a lot of things we discuss. Also this, the natural head position. It might be titled the neutral head position, but guess what? Those are synonyms. Natural, neutral, and normal, okay? Anyway, there's a lot of videos we have discussing the human being's jaw, like I'm saying. We just talk about it where we do as well because it's so big. The jaw just plays a massive role. And anything we could say the jaw plays into in the entire body, there you go, man. I mean, it's a lot. It's stabilizing the head on top of our whole bodies. Okay, when we're standing with our arms down at our sides, our head's the highest point. And our head's this ball of weight, maybe 10 pounds, give or take. It has to be stabilized on top of our bodies. We've got musculature from our jaw coming all the way up into the crown of our head up here, meaning all the way almost to the top of the head, close to the very top of our skull. There's musculature of the jaw. From the lower jawbone, called the mandible here, that hinges down and back like this when it opens, and then it comes up and closes, opposing Earth's gravity, like this. Okay, so yeah, things like oversized clothing, you're pulling down on your shoulders, but your shoulder's connected to your jaw. Really, the jaw is the shoulder, is the video's title under In The Image Clothing Company as of today's date, the 5th of March, 2026, that discusses that the most direct. Okay, look at this. I mean, yeah, I showed it, but look at this like closely, if you can see this well. As I move my jaw back and forth, the collar of my top moves because my jaw is connecting down to my shoulder edge. Okay? So when we say the jaw is the shoulder under In The Image Clothing Company, when we say the ears are the jaw under In The Image Clothing Company, when we say the hand is the shoulder or the foot is the hip, these things directly are each other, if you will. And you just have to see it as it is. There's only one way the human body could ever work. My voice barely came out there. But truly, there's only one way the human body could ever work. The only end is to allow God's design of the human being to work, or to let God's design of the dogs stay natural. We didn't design the human being. It only does what it does. In every aspect of it being what it is, just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. Yeah, there's only one way it works. Okay? You'll never get enough of what's not for you, so you can train your body all you want to think you're trying to train your body. It only does what it does. Okay? So, yeah, there's only a normal heart rate per minute, a normal respiratory rate, the amount we breathe per minute, a normal body temperature, the normal amount of fat content versus muscle mass the body has to just continue to be what it is. You know, and everything we could say in the body that there's just a normal of, there's only a normal to the human being. You can gain all the muscle mass you want once you start working out, but then once you stop working out, it all goes back to exactly how it was before. Okay, hypertrophy, gaining muscle size versus atrophy. Muscle size depleting back to the human body is only normal. Okay, there's only a normal to the human being. There's no opinion to it. But this is the point. It's that we don't know what we don't know. And we can't be held accountable for what we don't know, but once we know things, then our lives can change. I don't have a towel for Dante. I like to have a towel laid down for him to lay on. But we walked over here and I didn't carry a towel with me. It was already cold enough to just try to walk without things in my hand more than I had. Like Dante's homemade slip lead and his little bag to pick up his bowel movement with. Anyway, we are eating. It's a physical thing, you know, we're just hinging this lower jawbone, and as we're doing it, there's muscle that's going all over the place, connecting the jaw to the head, connecting the jaw to the shoulders, connecting the jaw to some of these upper ribs. The jaw's musculature travels all down through the neck of the human being, okay? So there's a lot going on here in the jaw, and when we're eating, well, this is a huge focus. We title videos very intentionally under In The Image Clothing Company. Okay, so the importance of bringing food to the mouth. You know, we've got a lot of things going on. This is a big point, okay? I filmed a video a while back and placed it under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, and I titled it, Why Eating Wears You Out, okay? A lot of people, after they eat, they'll get really tired and fatigued. They'll want to take a nap. People call it a food coma, if you will. You know, you just feel like you're really worn out, like you did exercise or something when you just ate. And the reason we eat is to fuel the body. Food is just fuel for the body. We're only what we have eaten, okay? You go from being a baby to being a full-grown adult because the food you put into your body literally becomes your body. As it says in the Holy Bible, we're pulled from the clay. We are truly just earth. Okay, and then once you die, you go back to the earth, you decompose, and something else eats what you once were, but you ate what something else once was too. It's just what it is. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. Don't believe me, there's universal laws. His name is Jesus Christ. God. So, we've got one other fourth of In The Image Clothing Company that I haven't mentioned yet in this video. In The Image Clothing Company podcast. We have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we get into it in depth. Really, though, you don't have to be religious or believe in anything because there's only truth to life. You can't have a belief that changes, you know, the fact of you getting here before you could have a belief. You have to be here first to develop a belief. So where'd we come from? Where our beliefs can't decide that. You can't have an opinion on anything unless there's first something there to have an opinion on. There's only truth to life. It's outside of all of us. We don't get to decide it as human beings or change it. So we just give deep insights on life under In The Image Clothing Company podcast. We're on episode 204 as of today's date. the 5th of March, 2026. Good boy, Dante. So, we have an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Jesus Christ is God. And don't believe me, but it's just, I needed to reference that after what I said there. I got convicted of needing to be able to, kind of throw that in there as just an explanation on, I'm not trying to give any information for you to believe. It's nothing to do with me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, in this for life to lead it. I couldn't make this information be valid or not valid. I couldn't make something up. Like I said at the beginning about the temperature, it doesn't matter if I tell you how cold it is out here. It's just as cold as it is out here. Regardless of if I know that the numbered temperature, degree or not, it's just as cold as it is. I mean, truth is truth. It's just what it is. We have to bring food to our mouths, okay? We have food we eat. And we talk about this. Like I was saying, why food wears you out? Well, there's only one position the body works in. There's videos under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company titled these: the natural curve in the spine, the natural bend in the knee. Okay, I'll reference those two right there for now. Okay. 3 times I said it. Here's the point. There's just a natural bend to the body to stay vertical. Like I discussed, there's even mathematical opposing bends to just stand up. You can measure these things. Measuring Truth is episode 200 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. There's no opinion to truth. I don't get to decide truth. I'm not perfect at explaining truth or understanding truth. I'm just not perfect. We're imperfect human beings. That's why we have to rely on a perfect God. But this is the point with eating, is we've got a lot of things like unnaturally height chairs. One size fits the really tall guy. An episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, one of those earlier episodes in number. Anyway, give or take earlier episodes relatively. This is the thing though, with eating in a chair, it's very unnatural. Gravity's always pulling down on us. This is the thing with clothing. We're a clothing company. Gravity has the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies. Truly, I say this, truly is for this sentence here. Clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. At least the physical problems we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company. That's how I word it as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, and I'd say the same thing if we didn't have a clothing company. It's just what it is. It's the only thing physically placed on us. So there's a lot going on because if you're sitting in a chair, it's already damaging your body. We discussed sitting in chair heights under In the Image Clothing Company, and they don't exist until we make them as human beings. Just like anything unnatural, artificial, or synthetic doesn't exist until we make it as human beings, and then it always decomposes back to natural anyway. The goal is natural on all 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company because it's not our choice, right? Don't believe me. But this is the big point with eating. I keep saying this is the point. There's just so many points. I don't know how to really just comprehend how I'm able to do what I'm able to do here under In the Image Clothing Company. It's such a beautiful thing. It's eternal truth, information that applies to every human being to ever live. Every body who has one, or everyone who has a body, every human being. Designed in the image of God, okay? Anyway, we have tabletops and chairs, and we're sitting and we're eating, but we also have gravity, and it just always pulls straight down. And so you're sitting in a chair at a table and you're trying to get food from the table to your mouth, and gravity is just somewhere in between there. You know what I mean? The center of gravity is always just vertical, but our bodies are not by any means. If you're sitting at a table trying to eat food, you need to bring food to your mouth, not put your mouth to the food. Okay? And so this is hard if you're sitting down in a chair at a table. Okay, I almost always, as of this time at least, and for the past at least year plus, from today's date back, the 5th of March 2026, just speaking out of personal experience, eat standing up. Okay, me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, in this for life to lead it. Golly, yeah, because if you sit down to eat, your body's already in an unnatural position. You have to stabilize your head on top of your body, but your head's not on top of your body when the feet, which are the bottom part of our body, that grip arches inward, opposing the center line of the human being to keep us vertical on Earth's gravity are not underneath us if you're sitting in a chair. They're like 2 or 3 feet, give or take, in front of you, and you're sitting there trying to eat, and your body's mechanical operation only does what it does. The feet are supposed to be underneath us, you know, and then stacking up from there with gravity pulling down on us. Our feet are our support, or our foundation, if you've got them, but just meaning the body is vertically stacked with its bones and its operations. And if you're sitting in a chair, you're just not vertical. You're like, you're spread out front to back, you know, and the food's a foot or 2 feet, give or take, in front of you, and you got to bring it to your mouth. Otherwise, you're taking your head and going down to the food. But then we've got Earth's gravity that's also just affecting our food the same as it's affecting our bodies, right? It's affecting our clothing, Earth's gravity, just as much as it affects our bodies, and our clothing is physically placed on our bodies. There's only one way clothing can sit on the universal human being's design of its skeletal system, designed by Jesus Christ. Man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. When I discuss where clothing sits as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, there's no opinion. It doesn't exclude anyone. I mean, unless you've got like a really very, very, very specifically unique body, then sure. Then we do what we can to, you know, work around our very, very individualistic situations where they come up. But there's a universal human design. That's the point. That's how we can do this, you know. That's how it is what it is. That's how we are human beings, because we are human beings, and that means something, you know. Meaning there's a way you can describe that, because there's a universal human design. That's what I'm saying. And what I am saying is our food, the things we're eating, the things we're drinking, gravity, it's affecting those things just straight down. Now you're sitting in a chair, let's say, and you're eating at a table, and you've got this gap between the food and your mouth and the food, forward to back, you know, horizontal, if you will, rather than vertically with Earth's gravity. You know, and the body just vertically stacking as well. It's not only that gravity pulls straight down, but the body's tubes are up and down. You know, the esophagus and the trachea in our neck. You know, we eat things, we drink things that go down our esophagus. It's a tube from the opening of the mouth down into the body's abdomen. But do you notice I say down? It's vertical, okay? From the opening of the mouth down the neck. And then it goes through our digestive system, through the intestines and the stomach, and through the whole body, and all the ways it does. You know, we talk a lot about eating. Shoot, under In the Image Clothing Company, this is crazy because this is so real, and it's pretty cold out here too. We're just doing this as we're doing this because Dante and I are moving down to St. George, Utah within a couple months from today's date, the 5th of March, 2026. St. George, Utah is the southernmost part of Utah. It's not like this very often. You know, it's warm, it's hot in the summers down there and relatively warm in the winters. It's a true desert. Red rock, beautiful sandstone. We'll be down there. We'll set up base camp for life. Okay, under In the Image Clothing Company, that's where our building will be, and our team members will breed our poodles, breeding purebred standard poodles to advocate for the importance of purebred dogs and how to for the health of dogs, not for the prestige, but to keep less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes. A lot of that starts before birth with proper breeding. So we'll do a lot of this cool stuff down in St. George, Utah, shipping our products out. Human being clothing and dog products, staying centered, fitting correct, and being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. You know, and all the things that we do like this, things in nature, things for the environment, cool events with people, you know, and I'll discuss more if I do in this video, but we have context where we do as well. Just look up our 5-word company name, In the Image Clothing Company, no spaces between the 5 words. But it's cold in Utah County here where we're at currently, about 3.5 hours north of St. George, Utah. It gets very cold here in the winters, okay, where it does, when it does. So, the body eating is a lot to do with gravity. You know, we just discussed gravity a lot under In the Image Clothing Company because that's a lot of what we're doing as human beings is just dealing with gravity. You know, just the length of our feet is all we have to support us vertically over Earth's gravity. So we have to stay over our feet. Otherwise, the arches in our feet don't actually grip properly. and our arches collapse, and then our body's compensating in its even mathematical opposing bends from bottom to top. You know, things like heels on shoes change the body's position anyway from its very foundation. So things like this, right? We get into it in depth, but let me really talk about bringing food to the mouth rather than putting your mouth to the food because of this reason. The body has only the position it has. To stay vertical and stand up on Earth's vertical gravity pull, the bones that are only shaped the way that they are and only connect how they do, the muscles that only connect to bones through tendons at endpoints that we can call insertions and then pull and directly in line, there's only one way the body can possibly ever mechanically function. Okay? The body's a mechanical machine, meaning a machine of motion. There's only one way it could ever possibly work. I could never wear out that phrase because it's just the truth. No matter who says or claims they can train your body to do something, maybe they've been training bodies for longer than I've been alive currently. I don't care. It's not true. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's provable. It's undisputed truth. It's the same since always. It's mechanics. That's it. Okay. Yeah, no claim, but many hundreds of hours of video documentation of us explaining this thoroughly under In the Image Clothing Company. There's no possible dispute. You just have to see the truth. Okay, so when we eat, when we drink things, it goes down with gravity through our bodies. Okay, gravity is a huge player in the digestive system of the human being. Imagine hanging upside down and trying to drink something. You'd be drinking it upward, opposing gravity, and that doesn't really work. It's gravity that's pulling food and liquid down through our bodies. You know, our bodies can also move it through them with the musculature and our digestive system to the degree that that happens, and it does, but gravity is a big part of it. The opening of the mouth, where we put food or drinks into, is the highest point opening, and then the rectum, where food and drinks come out after we have, you know, extracted the nutrients from them when they've passed through our bodies, is at the farthest down end with Earth's gravity. A lot of it's just gravity. And the gravity of the situation is we're sitting in chairs and eating as human beings a lot of the time, but we have to bring the food to our mouth. The natural head position, the neutral head position, right? The jaw stabilizing not only that, the head, the skull of the human being, but also the entire body. And our body is just having to breathe. You know, we filmed a video 2 days ago, if it was 2 days ago exactly, but yeah, here under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, titled The Diaphragms of the Neck. Dante and I did, okay? And we breathe with muscles from our neck pulling up on the rib cage to expand upward, as well as muscles down in our abdomen pulled down to expand downward, really just meaning the rib cage, the bones connecting in the center line of the body in the front at the sternum, and then wrapping around the body and connecting in the center line of the body at the spine in the rear. A lot of little bones stacking create the spine of the human being. They're called vertebrae, those little bones. Then there's a lot of motion there in the spine. Okay, the pants of our bodies have to sit at our natural waist. We'll get into that if we do in this video, but this is the point with eating and bringing food to the mouth, is we have to just keep our chest, meaning our rib cage, in a proper position, our natural spine curvature there, right? There's just a natural curve to the spine, the natural jaw position, and the jaw is connected to the shoulders, and so the shoulders have to be in their natural position. We have to keep our head on top of our bodies and stabilized. So there's a lot going on with the position of eating, and there's only one way the human body can eat, only one position it can happen in. Truly, we're hinging the jaw. That's what chewing is. It's just a physical hinge motion. The body, it's mechanics, hinges, levers, and rotations. Internal rotation or external rotation from the neutral. There's always a neutral hinging on joints like the wrist or the ankle or the elbow or the knee or even at the hips or wherever in the body we could say, there's only one way the human body could ever work. I don't have an opinion on it. It doesn't matter if I did. It wouldn't matter. It couldn't matter if I did. There's only truth. I didn't design the body. When we're eating, we're just hinging the jawbone upward, opposing Earth's gravity, and as it closes, our teeth are kind of just bones, really. They're different to the degree that they are, but I'm saying it like that just so you can see what I mean. We're just taking the bottom teeth and the top teeth and just poof, 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 slamming them together, basically. But the top teeth don't come down, the bottom teeth come up. The top teeth are connected into the skull of the human being. They don't move when we're just standing here or sitting or whatever we're doing, right? But if the jaw is moving, open and closed, it's the lower jawbone coming up, opposing Earth's gravity's pull. So yeah, oversized tops, poof, you can't even close your jaw all the way. You're pulling down on your shoulder, and your shoulder is your jaw. Really, the jaw is the shoulder, right? We just word it with the jaw first, usually, under In the Image Clothing Company, because the focus is the jaw, but the shoulders affect it, you know, in this case, like this. So, yeah, yes, and either way, you know, the jaw can affect the shoulder, but the jaw is stabilizing the entire body. And when we're eating, we need to bring food to our mouth, because that's a big point. Is the jaw, when it's closing upward, well, the food has to come from our hands up to our jaw. The hand is the shoulder. When we lock the hand out at the elbow between the two, the hand and the shoulder do the exact same thing. I mean, they just are the exact same thing, but when we lock them out at the elbow, you can really see, I mean, the rotations will be the same, internal rotation or external rotation, you know, and just wherever the hand goes, the shoulder goes. If it's locked out at the elbow between the two, it's just one stick. And so if we're bringing food to our mouth, not only are we bringing our hands up to our mouth with the food in the hands, but we're bringing our shoulders up to a degree, just because the hand is the shoulder. So anywhere the hand goes, the shoulder has to go, unless we're just moving at the forearm, I guess, from the elbow down to the hand, right? And that's a possibility, you know, but what I'm saying is, yeah, we have to be able to lift our shoulders. And if we're putting food in our hands and bringing it up to our mouth, we have to be able to lift our shoulders up to our mouth. Otherwise, we'll put our head down to our hands. Do you see what I mean? That's the point of me making this video, so you can see what I mean. Okay. On the 5th of March, 2026. Under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, okay, the importance of bringing food to the mouth. We need to bring food up to our mouths. The lower jawbone comes up to close, to chew food, to close the mouth. For the tongue to get to the roof of the mouth, to swallow. The tongue connects into the lower jawbone and down in the neck. The jawbone of the lower part, okay, the lower jawbone, the mandible, it hinges upward to close. So the tongue comes up with it, the shoulders come up with it because the jaw is connected to the shoulders, okay? The clothing that you're wearing has to fit you, correct? Because there's only one way the human body could ever possibly work, you know? Oversized tops, you're just not going to be able to close your jaw, and then your jaw is going to be hanging open, and then you'll bring your head to your food because you can't even lift your jaw up anyway. So you're chewing just so unnaturally at that point. You're almost chewing with your skull more than your lower jawbone, really, if your jaw is dropped. Anyway, yeah, seen with context, I mean, that's weird positioning. It doesn't work. There's only one way the human body mechanically chews, you know? And if you don't know, you don't know. I'm not being like accusacious. I'm just being as bold as I am. There you go. Yeah. So we have to bring food to the mouth because also just the vertical position of the esophagus, the tube of the throat, when we swallow something, liquid or food, it's got to be vertical with Earth's gravity. And if we're not bringing food up to our mouths, but instead we're bringing our head down to our food, now this tube of the neck is not vertical, and so we just can't swallow nicely. There's a truck. So, yeah. Okay. The jaws musculature, it needs to be able to be working in a position where we can stabilize our head and our entire bodies when we're standing vertically like this. Just meaning with these even mathematical opposing bends the body has to stay vertical on Earth's gravity. And if you're sitting in a chair eating and bringing your head to your food rather than bringing your food to your mouth, you're just really changing the whole position of your entire body. And in this case, from your head down to your toes or your head down to your fingertips, the body can't only get affected from the feet up to the head, but it can also be affected from the head down to the feet. You know, from the feet to the fingertips or from the fingertips to the feet, you know, toe tips, if you will, where either end of the body can affect the other end of the body. The body's all connected. It's a kinetic chain. Okay, that's what that means. A chain of things, like a chain of bones, a chain of muscles that are all connected to each other. The only way they do. There's only one way the human body could ever work. But this is why people try to train their bodies. A lot of the reason is because they're not eating centered, you know? Left to right, or front to back, you know, and a lot of reason as to why is imbalanced clothing. It's not a stretch, it's not a sales pitch, it's the truth. It's the only thing physically placed on you. It's why we have In the Image Clothing Company. It's why I personally founded In the Image Clothing Company. Me, Evan Strong, and I'm in this for life to lead it. It's not like some kind of like thing, you know. I'm playing the long game. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled The Long Game. I think it's episode, I'm not sure exactly, but under 20, I think, in the number of episodes. You know, and we're on over 200 episodes, 204 as of today's date of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. You know, the 5th of March, 2026. So what I'm saying is, yeah, I'm playing the long game. I don't have some kind of opinion on these things. This is universal truth I'm discussing here, not my choices. God is the truth. We don't decide it. And so you can't train the body, but if you're wearing imbalanced clothing and then you eat and cause your musculature to become patterned, okay, our bodies do get into patterning, and it happens in things like the face of the human being and the jaw of the human being. All the musculature in the jaw supporting the head. If we're not eating centered, well, our teeth wear down when we eat. That's just a natural thing. You're just causing friction, grinding food between your teeth. The teeth will wear down over time. It just happens. It's okay. But they'll wear into the position they're going to be used in, and so that needs to be centered because the body has to stay centered over Earth's vertical gravity pull. So if you're eating with only one hand in this right-handed world, you'll be imbalanced. Okay? If you're eating, with just one hand, the imbalance will be to the right or to the left, you know, off to one side or the other from the vertical gravity pull in the center. But if you're eating too far forward, like at a table, then your head's like this, clear in front of your body, when really it has to be vertical above you because the base of the skull is the top of the spine, just like the top of the hips or the top of the pelvis is the base of the spine. It's all one thing. There's 3 parts to the spine, the lumbar, thoracic, and cervical spine, but it's all one spine. It just curves in different directions, and each part of it kind of plays a little bit of a different function. But it's all connected, the whole body. The only way you can ever address the body is as an entirety. The human body only ever works activated as a whole. Everything's there with its own individualistic role to play. No compensation can happen in the body. something can't make up for the role of something else not playing its function very well because it's all got a different function. The hand can't really be the foot, for example, just as one of the things. They're just different in the ways they are. Everything in the body, and there's things that are way more different than the hands and the feet, because the hands and the feet are just about the exact same thing, actually, in a lot of ways, and we discussed that thoroughly, but that's just an example. So, whoa, there's a bug that was right next to my face. When we eat, we have to bring food to the mouth, okay? Bringing food to the mouth, the importance of bringing food to the mouth, because gravity. I mean, that's really one of the biggest points. Also, just the shape of the body connecting at its bones, you know, one of those being the lower jawbone. But, you know, just think about food and liquid and how it's falling off your fork or your spoon, or, you know, you're drinking something and it's just being pulled down with gravity. This is what I mean. So much of what we do as human beings is just gravity. Dealing with it, you know? Dealing with gravity. Keeping our bodies over Earth's gravity. A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Your center of gravity. A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Staying in your center line. A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. These are things about gravity, mostly. You know? Keeping 2 points of contact in the feet. Gravity, okay? But also, yeah, it's a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company with those gripped arches in the feet. We have a lot of videos discussing the feet, certainly, a lot, under In The Image Clothing Company, okay, on our main site specifically here. And I could reference a lot, but the feet have to be underneath us. The body has to work how it does. It's got opposing bends to it, but it's got opposing musculature allowing those opposing bends to be there. And so staying within our neutrals is something we always have to do, basically in every aspect of our lives, because there's a neutral position to everything. There's only one way the body functions, and every body is the same, okay? Taken with a grain of salt, because very, 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 very slight individualistic differences where there are, but no, I mean, there's a universal human design. I just want to be very clear that, you know, I understand that people have some differences where they do, you know, only different from the universal human design. So what I'm saying with eating is bringing food to the mouth is then allowing our mouth to stay in its normal position, our jaw, which is our head, which is our spine, which is our pelvis, which is our hips. Okay, that's just the same name for the, or a different name for the same thing, but then our legs down to our feet, but our hands are what's moving, okay? So, gravity, you know, our food has to be right underneath our mouth opening, really, or right next to our mouth opening, and then we can just put the food into our mouth. Keep our mouth normal, and then watch the musculature of my jaw. Up the whole sides of my head, up into my cheekbone area, and then down my neck, into my shoulders, okay? Anyway, there's a lot of musculature of the jaw. The jaw just plays a lot of roles, and huge roles, impact-wise, in the entire body, okay? For the entire body, if you will. So, you know, we can, yikes, train our bodies into an imbalance. You'll never train your human body to be centered. That's impossible. Truly, physically impossible. You can't train to a neutral. Standing vertically from left or right, leaning, that's the neutral. You can't train to that. That's the resting state. You can't train front to back leaning, you know, in the center, standing vertically. That's the resting state. Like the arms hanging down at our sides, as long as your feet are actually on the ground and your pelvis is just neutral above your feet being neutral on the horizontal surface of the planet Earth, your arms down at your sides are neutral. That's their resting state with gravity. It's impossible to train the human being to do anything but it can get into patterning. We can train it into incorrect workings. Certainly, that happens. That's what we do here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, is we get out of chronic patterning, scar tissue, bone spurs, things like this built up in the body, because that happens. You know, our bodies get really damaged, but we can undo these things, as you can watch happen in my body. You know, as I say, you can watch my visual and physical transformation. Me, Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, documented and date marked under the gift of video. Well, there's many reasons I call it a gift, right? The gift of video is something we always have and always will do so much of and through under all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. It's a huge part of what we are, is just our videos that we have and always will make. So there you go. Yeah, we get out of patterning because, man, there's a lot of noise where there is in life, isn't there? Because patterning gets created. You know, we've got videos titled The Importance of Even Eyebrows, The Importance of Even Ears, The Importance of Even Nostrils. Things like this under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, because a lot of our patterning gets stuck in our face, in our head, the skull of the human being, in the musculature of the jaw of the human being, which is stabilizing our entire bodies, you know, because these are our senses. We're breathing through the nose, we're navigating life through our eyes, the sense of sight, and all the roles the jaw is playing. It's you know, affecting things clear down to the feet and out to the fingertips of the hands, you know, toe tips of the feet. So this is really what's happening. And don't believe me, I'm in this for life. I mean, we'll have 20, 40, 60, 80 plus years go by, and this video will still be valid, the information of In The Image Clothing Company, as long as we're aligning it with the truth of God, which is that we didn't design the human being, and there's only one way it could ever work. Yeah, so there's only one way it could ever work. That's what I'm saying. It'll never change. It never has. It never will. It never has, and it never will. And it never has, and it never will. There's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? Yeah. We have to bring food to our mouth, though, okay? Because we've got to keep our rib cage open to breathe. We have to keep our spine neutral to stabilize our head. It's on top of our spine. We have to keep our jaw hinging, open and closed, neutral, which is stabilizing our entire body, and also just allowing our teeth to mesh to actually chew. There's only one way this happens. It's mechanics. The human being. There's only one way it could ever possibly work. No opinion. No opinion. I'll say it a third time. No opinion. Don't believe me. We have to bring food to our mouth. And so if you are sitting at a chair, I mean, do all you can to not really. It's very hard to have your body work sitting in a chair. It's so terribly damaging. You've got weight on your hamstrings, the rear of your upper legs, and it deactivates those muscles just because there's weight pressing into them. The chair is pressing into the hamstring muscle. We sit on our sit bones, the ischiums, the bottom of the hips or the pelvis, you know, right above those glute muscles, the actual bone of the pelvis. That's what we sit on naturally, like on the ground or on something very low, where our hamstring muscles, these big long muscles on the rear of our upper leg, aren't being cut into by a chair height position that we would never sit on until we started making chair height things as human beings. It's an invention of human beings, if you will. Like that height, it's decided that that's a common height for a chair. You know, the height of chairs are almost always the same height. But people aren't, you know. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Golly. Yeah, one size fits the really tall guy, like I was saying, that episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. The taller you are, you can get your hamstrings off a chair easier, you know. Man, it's crazy. It's just truth. I don't get to decide these things. Truth, anything. I don't get to decide anything, really. I mean, nobody does, is what I'm saying. Truth is truth. You have to bring food to your mouth. You can't take your mouth to the food. You'll just see people and you're sitting at a table, and that's what's hard about it, is things will fall off your spoon with gravity. Things will fall off your fork with gravity. Vehicles will drive by when you're filming a video, if you're doing it outside and there's vehicles driving by. It's just what happens. And then there's noise is the point for the audio or the video. That's the only reason it's even being addressed by me right now, okay? Anyway. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's ideal for you to be able to hear the words I'm speaking in this video. That's why I'm speaking them under video, okay? Is to document truth. Here's the thing. I don't get to decide this. You can't sit in a chair and eat naturally. Not really. Unless you grab the plate or food that, you know, in a bowl or whatever it is that you have, and bring it up to you like this in one of your hands, and then if you've got a fork or a spoon maybe in the other hand, and now you're holding your food like right next to your chest, basically right under your chin, right under your lower jawbone called your mandible, and then you take your other hand and you grab it, you know, the spoon or the fork, and you get the food from right here, right underneath your jaw, and then you just lift it up and put it into your mouth. Now your shoulders are fairly neutral and your spine's fairly neutral. And your jaw's fairly neutral and your head's fairly neutral. And your wrists are fairly neutral. And, you know, here you go. You know, but that's awkward to do, physically awkward. It's hard. It's physically uncomfortable to do that. To grab a bowl or a plate and put it all the way up here right under your mouth with one hand, and then have the utensil in the other hand, and then have just like a few inches from the bowl or plate to your mouth like this, just basically straight up from the bowl or plate to your mouth opening. I mean, that's uncomfortably physically awkward. It feels weird. It's not easy to do. You're still having to breathe, but now your arms are like this, you know, which I don't even know how to explain what I mean by this. It's just it's weird, you know, physically weird. No matter what anyone thinks about you while you're doing it, I mean, it feels physically strange to do. It's like, well, this is not very easy, because the point is, it's not just how I'm doing it right here standing up. You're sitting in a chair. And so the mechanics of your body from your feet up to your hips and then up through your spine is already all out of whack. Meaning just altered, okay, is what I'm saying, physically altered, because your spine has this natural curve in it. And you can't even lift your arms up like to your mouth. If the natural curve in your spine is taken away, you'll just get pinching and binding of mechanical bone on bone clashing in your shoulder joint. Okay, your scapulas or your shoulder blades will hit into your rib cage, and your humerus, which is your upper arm bone, will hit the top of your scapula, the acromion. The collarbone angle or the clavicle will be altered if your spine is altered. Your spine's position will be altered if you're sitting in a chair and there's weight on your hamstrings that deactivates the muscle, because the body has opposing activations through the hips. Muscles pull up in the front of the hips with muscles pulling down in the rear of the hips to do a posterior rotation of the pelvis, or muscles pull down in the front of the hips and up in the rear of the hips to do an anterior rotation of the pelvis. There's just this crossing through the hips when it comes to the activation of musculature, and sitting in a chair, that just doesn't happen. It deactivates your muscles and your pelvis just goes anterior. Now you can't even lift your arms because your shoulders bind up. I was almost gargling saliva like that in that position, because that's what I'm saying. And then it changes the position of your trachea and your esophagus, you know, the tubes in your throat. It changes the position of your jaw and the position of your skull angle. You know, we've got a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company titled "Looking Down Opposes Bad Posture." And seen with context, it's the case. Looking down as far as actually pivoting the whole skull down at the base of the skull, which is the top of the spine. You know, the top of that cervical spine comes right into the base of the skull. And if we pivot down on the skull, now we're actually more vertical, more neutral. It straightens the spine. But if you sit in a chair, ow, yikes, uncomfortable. is how it will feel. You know, your neck will just curve forward. Your cervical spine, it already curves forward a little bit, but it'll curve excessively forward. Just like the hips already bend backward, okay, with the body's opposing bends on Earth's vertical gravity pull to stay vertical, these even mathematical opposing bends that it's impossible to train to because mathematics, you know, work how they do. And only, right? Truth. Yeah, truth. There's only truth to life. I don't get to decide it. Neither do you, though, so you're not going to ever train your body. It's impossible. It's physically impossible. Don't believe me. But don't I discuss things so thoroughly in a way that there's no possible dispute? Yes, I do. As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company is the point, me, Evan Strong, in this for life to lead it. I have no opinion on these things. Well, you know, I'm imperfect, but, right? You see what I mean? These things are what these things are. I'm discussing them. I can discuss them not so correct, but they still are what they are. Even if I wasn't here to say anything about them. Truth is truth. It's apart from all of us. This is the truth, is its mechanics. The human being, you have to bring food up to your mouth because it's hard to not drop things. Because you probably do have some kind of plate, some kind of bowl, something like this holding your food. I mean, it could be a big leaf, you know, it could be anything. But you have to be containing the food somehow, or it's just on the ground, you know, or just on the tabletop. But that's what I mean. You have to get the food from wherever it is outside of your body, being just a foreign thing to your body, until we introduce it to the body and the body can have the opportunity to accept it or reject it. So we have to introduce food to the body properly. You know, we've got a lot of videos discussing that under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here. Things like food expands in water. Quite the simple title, but there was a lot of discussion in that video, you know, under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Just a few days ago here, Dante was there with me, you know, for that video. We filmed it, and yeah, I mean, we have to introduce food to the body properly. So that's the thing, is food's just already outside of your body. Food's a foreign thing to your body until we put it into the body. This noise, man, it's getting noisier. I feel like it's getting louder outside here around me, you know. We have to introduce food to the body, so you have to take it from wherever it is and get it into your mouth. But what happens is, between where it is and your mouth, you've got all this opportunity of gravity pulling it off of your spoon or your fork, or even if you're just eating with your own hands, it just falling out of your hands potentially before it gets into your mouth. And so we have to bring the food to the mouth. We don't want to bring the mouth to the food, or we change the position of the entire body. And so if you're sitting at a chair and a table set up eating, man, it's very hard to eat because it's just a hinge. The jawbone, the mandible, this lower jawbone, it's only a hinge. It's got to clear things like the muscle right behind it, the sternocleidomastoid, and the ears are the jaw, as I said. The ears are just the gap between the rear of the lower jawbone and then the base of the skull, the mastoid back there. And so if we alter our ear cartilage, we already altered the position of our jaw. We can't tuck our jaw back if our ear cartilage is excessively enlarged from putting anything into our ears or putting things onto our ears to alter the position of them. You know, in modern day, we have a lot of ways this can happen that could never have possibly happened in the past through a lot of technology we have that's very damaging potentially if we're not intentional. But if you don't know how to be intentional, you can't even be. That's just the case, right? So anyway, there's a lot that goes into this. I have no opinion on this, but there is only one way the human body could ever work. We have to bring food to the mouth. And so if you're eating, you want to keep your body in a position like you're just standing vertically with what you could call good posture, but just the only way the human being can stay vertical over Earth's gravity, with opposing muscles and opposing bends in bone. The opposing muscles are just to keep the bones in their opposing bends. The musculature of the body is a secondary thought, or a secondary thing in any way you could say it, to the bones of the body or the skeletal system. The human body is about the skeletal system. The muscles are just pieced onto the skeletal system that's already a whole system by itself, just to allow it to move. Okay, the muscles just move the bones. That's why we have muscles, is because of the bones. The body's about its bones. It's about a position. There's no opinion to this, okay? You can get all the strongest muscles you want ever. If your body isn't in the position that it moves in, though, because of the shape of the bones, you'll wear your bones out because your muscles are too strong. In an incorrect working anyway, you know, if they are in that case. Yeah, it just is what it is. The body just only does what it does. That's it, ever. I feel like I'm a little barking dog. I'm just yapping about some stuff, and I don't have an opinion on it, but a lot of people probably think I'm just making something up if they don't really dive into what we're really doing here under In The Image Clothing Company. Because we're only a clothing company for the sake of the functionality of the human being, to allow the body to work. Because all these things I'm talking about with chair positioning, table positioning, you know, Earth's gravity and the body's only workings and its only positioning that it has because of the shape of the bones, you know, and the shape and length of the muscles as well, you know, the length of the bones. There's only one way the body works. But then we compound all of this that could possibly be going wrong in things like chair heights and tabletops and, you know, leaning over to our food rather than bringing our food to our mouth, you know. The importance of bringing food to the mouth, okay? This video's title, under In The Image Clothing Company's main site on the 5th of March 2026, we compound all of this by placing something onto our bodies. Clothing our bodies with something. Anything we place onto our bodies, well, the skeletal system of the body still only connects the way it does. Gravity affecting our clothing the same way it's affecting our bodies. With our clothing placed onto our bodies, our clothing will change the position of our bodies if it's not fitting our bodies proper. Like I said, joints of body parts meshing with joints of materials in all the ways. So let me talk about where clothing sits real quick. For every body who has one, or every one who has a body, there's no opinion to it. Pants need to be entirely above the hips at what's called our natural waist. That's where we bend side to side at the spine, because there's no bone there until we get to the center line of the body at the spine. You can't bend side to side at the hips without a foot coming off the ground. We can only bend side to side, you know, at the waist area, at the natural waist. And then with our pants slightly higher in the front than the rear at the waistband, because we've got this horizontal surface to our earth, which is the feet's neutral. The feet can point, plantar flexion, going down, or, sounds like an elevator, going down. Yikes. Or the feet can lift, right? Dorsiflexion, which is going up. Going up, okay? The neutral is the surface of the earth. The term zero drop in any brand of shoe for the sole of the shoe, just flat, horizontal. The only way the feet work, truly. You put heels onto your shoes, you know, in man-made shoe design, and you're just in constant pointing of the toes. Plantar flexion, which changes the entire body's bends to the top of it, which is not the tip of the head, but it's actually the tips of the fingers when we put our hands above our heads, okay? So yeah, the entire body gets damaged with heels on the shoes, but the top of the shoe is half of the function. The top of the foot's half of the function. Dorsiflexion, or lifting of the foot, that's In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. It's just what we title it. We don't own it. You can't own a weave of a rope, but the only way you can weave ropes across the top of the mechanics of the human feet, with muscles, tendons, ligaments, and bones gripping arches inward, opposing the center line of the human being and keeping us vertical, there's only one way we can do that without altering the feet. So there you go. Okay, traveling up from the feet's neutral on the horizontal surface of our earth, we've got the pelvis with its neutral. The pelvis is the hip structure. It has a neutral meshing with the bottom of the feet, or the surface of the planet Earth, the same thing, and they can go anterior or posterior. The pelvises of the human beings, okay, the hip structure of ours. So yeah, if we keep our pant waistline just very slightly higher in the front than the rear, then we do what we can to just keep it horizontal is the point. We can do what we can to do what we can to ensure where we can, right, that our pants never fall lower in the front than just neutral, because our pants don't want to be falling lower in the front. We don't want our pants to fall lower in the front because our hips already bend lower in the front, if you will, anterior with the rotation, when we just hinge at the hips and bend forward. That's just the direction the hips actually bend in. So tops that we wear, we've got seams on top of our shoulders, and they need to sit evenly behind the peak of the shoulders. Now button-ups have a band of material across the back that just naturally sits on top and behind the shoulders, meaning, you know, when I discuss single seams on top of our shoulders and how they need to sit evenly behind the peak of the shoulder, which is just the top of the collarbone or clavicle, right? The other end of the clavicle from the center line of the body. It's pretty cold out here. I'm really getting through this video though. I love it. I love this video. Yeah, the top seams of our shoulders sit behind the peak of the shoulders because our shoulders only ever work behind our head. But that's when it's a single seam. The button-up tops, it's a whole band of material that does just sit behind the shoulders, you know, in this type of button-up shirt design, at least. You know, in the Image Clothing Company's button-ups, they'll be great, you know, stay centered and fit properly, as long as you get them in your size, right? Clothing has to fit. Oversized clothing is not a choice. There's a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. Oversized tops and the collarbone is a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. You know, so anyway, yeah, the edge seams of our tops need to be as close as we can get to the edge of our shoulders. We've got 3 bones meshing there. The collarbone, called clavicle, humerus, called upper arm bone, and scapula, called shoulder blade. These 3 bones meet at the edge of the shoulder, and so do joints of material. And it's important to have edge seams of our shoulders as well. You can have clothing designs that don't have edge seams, and it's just, you know, material over the shoulder edge, but we need a seam there so it can mesh with the joints of the bones of the shoulder. And then that's where the motion will happen, you know, just as close as we can get to the edges of our shoulders. There you go. Okay. So that's baseline where clothing sits. We get into it in depth. Things like keeping short sleeves short, the importance of even short sleeves, videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, and also just, you know, things to put focus on, you know, sleeve cuffs and pant cuffs, off the ankles, off the wrists, off the knees for the shorts, you know, things like this. And then we get in depth with free modifications in clothing, like In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification when it comes to keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars. This is for both human beings and dogs, you know, and there's seams in our collars where there are. And anything that's just discrepant or different in the circumference or circular nature of our collar of our top makes the even opposing muscles of the center line of the neck of the human being be imbalanced. And some of those muscles are the jaw muscles. A lot of those muscles are the jaw muscles. There's a lot of the muscles in the jaw that go through the neck, really, that go through the collar of our tops. So our collars have to stay centered. You know, removing all tags from clothing, our second prerequisite, in addition to In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, to just not alter the body, because tags in clothing didn't even exist just tens of years ago from today's date, the 5th of March, 2026, and neither did stretch in clothing. So stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way muscles could ever work. The human body's muscles contract or pull. The muscle fibers fire, they get closer together, and stretch goes the opposite way. Stretching the body's damaging too. We've got opposing muscles and there's a neutral between them. There's just only one way the human body could ever work, but you have to have a lot of context where you do, if you do, to know how that is. But this is the thing. If we never altered the body was designed by God to work. You don't see animals doing workout routines or stretching routines to try to get their body to do something. It's physically impossible for that to happen. Same with the human being. We just don't know what we don't know, which, you know, we can't be held accountable for. But what happens is we live in this modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth. So there's so many things we deal with that we could never possibly have had to before. Things like our hand arches, the rounding to our hands correlating with the arches in our feet. my hands are cold, so they don't have as much dexterity right now as they normally would, because the human body's only normal. There's only a normal to the human being, okay? And when it gets too cold, it doesn't work as well. When it gets too hot, it doesn't work as well. You know, when it has too much fat content or even too much muscle mass that you've trained to, the body doesn't work as well. There's only a normal to it. It always goes back to the normal too, after you stop doing something you started doing. See what I mean? Man, there's only truth to life. I don't get to decide it. No human being does. But, you know, we live in this modern world and there's so many things going on. Clothing patterns to a degree are right-handed. You know, just things designed to be used with one hand are designed to be used with the right hand almost always. So we just get in patterning and our bodies are just misaligned, but there's still a vertical pull to Earth's gravity, and there's still a horizontal surface to the Earth's surface. There's still a center line to the body. There's still opposing functioning to every function of the body, or it couldn't work. There's only light because there's dark. There's only warmth because there's cold. We can only pull to close a hinge because we can pull to open or extend a hinge in the body. There's only one way these things happen. There's truth to life, and that's it. No sales pitch here under In The Image Clothing Company. No flash in the pan, quick success, hype it up for a minute and it's gone. No, I'm in this for life. And then what I do here will last until my grandkids, great-great-grandkids have a couple dogs, and their dogs have a litter or two of puppies, and then down the line, who knows, you know, what's gonna happen. But truth won't change, I know that. Anyway, there you go. There's only one way the human body could ever work. And so, just to be very clear on the focus in this video, bringing food to the mouth, just picture standing vertical, nice and, you know, properly over Earth's vertical gravity pull, and just opening and closing your jaw. Okay, you don't have to make that sound while you do it. Probably don't, right? In most all cases, it's just not needed, usually. But, you know, it's funny. That's funny. What I'm saying is, you know, still having the natural motion in your shoulders, the natural motion in your neck, but being able to open and close your jaw. How are you going to do that and keep your body in that position while you bring food to your mouth? If you try to take your mouth to the food, you won't even be able to close your jaw. If you put your head forward farther than natural, neutral, or normal, you know, man, yeah, I literally can't. I mean, if I'm holding my hands out here like I have food in my hands, and I'm trying to get my face or my head down to my food in my hands, I can't close my teeth together. It's mechanics. I just showed it, but I want to do it again to really do it, to show you now that I've explained it. Watch this. With my jaw in a neutral position, I can just close my teeth together. You can probably hear it in the mic. But if I try to get my head down to my hands where the food would be, rather than bringing food to my mouth, this video's title under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, The Importance of Bringing Food to the Mouth, okay, the 5th of March, 2026, you have to bring food to your mouth, because if I try to get my mouth to my food down in my hands, you know, or just anywhere farther than my jaw's natural, neutral, or normal position, I can't even close my teeth together mechanically. Watch this. Listen to it too. I just can't hinge my lower jawbone, this mandible, upward, opposing Earth's gravity, if it's not in the position it can happen. There's only one way the human body could ever work. So there's your takeaways, there's your video, okay? In The Image Clothing Company poodles, poodle parade events, bring your poodles, purebred of any size or mixed poodles of any size, if you'd like, to the state of Utah here. That's our focus, location-wise, under In The Image Clothing Company, is the state of Utah in the United States of America. We live up Utah. For the sake of the beautiful, diverse nature, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints headquarters are here in Utah. But we'll get people into nature and dogs into nature through poodle parade events. Come for the events, and the reasons we're doing them. Don't come for In The Image Clothing Company's team. But, you know, things like Clean the Creek or Rid the Rubbish, subcategory of poodle parade events. We'll do things for the environment, like picking up trash, you know, And advocating for a lot of good things is what we do in a lot of ways, you know. Maybe you don't think they're good things, but, you know, for nature, for the health of the planet, for our bodies, for God. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a huge focus under In the Image Clothing Company as well. It's in our company name. In the image of God, we're designed. So there's the first 3 of our 5-word company name, In the Image Clothing Company. Anyway, I'm just letting you know we've got another 4 sides, except that's not the case. There's only one more side to the 4 that we have of In the Image Clothing Company that I haven't mentioned yet in this video. In the Image Clothing Company music, we show the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter things like the neutral wrist. Straight out from the pinky finger from the outside of the forearm is that neutral wrist, just like straight out the pinky toes forward with our different length toes is the neutral foot position, okay? We've got different length fingers that are different lengths than our thumbs, you know, and yes, different lengths to our 5 toes as well. We roll evenly off the ends of our different length toes to just share the weight evenly. That's how it works, you know, so that's a huge focus. The rest of your body is damaged from your toes up on Earth's vertical gravity pull with our feet supporting our bodies if you're not first starting by evenly rolling off the ends of your 5 different length toes. If you've got them, you know, if your body's slightly different, then there you go. But truth, right? There's only truth to life. I don't get to decide it. But what I do is rhythm and poetry, spoken word, lyricism, singing, guitar playing, things like this under In the Image Clothing Company music. That's a lot of what we do is what I'm saying, you know, geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages. So there you go. We're gonna get out of here, Dante and I. He's just curled up right here. Man, there you go. Bring food to your mouth. Keep your body in a normal position and use your hands to move the food. Don't use your head to move down to the food. Thank you. Good boy, Dante. In the Image Clothing Company poodles, we talk about feeding dogs at the proper height too. You know, feeding dogs up at their head height, so they don't have to do what we're saying here in this video as well. And In the Image Clothing Company's main side for us human beings, and then try to get their head down to the ground. Dogs need to pull food up, you know, with their mouth. Naturally they would, but we just feed dogs differently when they're domesticated animals than wild dogs eat. So there's a lot to it. Thank you, goodbye.